Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me,
would we do that all over the world?
Well, and everybody this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
But there are people who may not have bloodlines, but who have converted to Judaism. Are they going to be able to live here? Are you going to kick them out?
By your standards, they can't live here.
No,
because
you
just
never
told
said
me
that
they have a right to live here because God gave them the land because they're the descendants of Abraham.
The descendants of Abraham. But if they're the spiritual descendants of Abraham and they've now decided that they're converting to Judaism, then do they have a right to live in Israel?
Since you began this conversation by asking me, did I think they had a right to come here?
Yeah, that's
and
what
my question was, on what basis do they have the right?
Yeah.
And you said because God granted it to them.
And I also said because that there should be a land where Jews can live in peace and safety.
And I asked you what a Jew was, and you couldn't answer it. You said it partly is religious, but it doesn't have to be. It's partly genetic, but it doesn't have to be. And so that you can see why I'm confused.
I think I was very clear.
Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But ancestrally,
do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
He doesn't. No one does. That's the point.
But
so how do we know that he has any connection to this land at all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language, the Bible, the land.
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
Hearing my voice and watching this should do is to quietly find a place where you're by yourself and quietly ask the Spirit, talk audibly to the Great Spirit that men have called God. I don't care what you call it, but the Divine One, the presence of God. I believe that there is a very powerful presence watching and protecting us. And so I would suggest talking to that Great Spirit and asking it to protect you, to guide you, and to have you meet her Great Spirit. And asking it to protect you, to guide you, and to have you meet whoever you're supposed to, and to fulfill your destiny if it has one for you. So that's what I would suggest all young people start at that point. Just talk to God, so to speak. I would suggest all people.
Sometimes it gets really tough. You're never going to get rid of the ones attacking you. You're not going to get rid of the little boys and girls that abuse children. That's why they set up these religions. I miss my son and daughter. Anytime I come on here, all I get is child abusing paedophile protectors attacking me, like Alistair McEwen. I don't even know if this is a real thing, but I know it's a little piece of vermin. He goes for anything that you might get wrong to call you a liar. Seemingly I get something wrong about Ghislaine Maxwell. Doesn't change anything to do with a father's life or the abused children face or what this little paedophile protector's doing. He knows he has no present. I'm not saying he's got no future. I'm saying he's miles away from having no future because he has no present. He's a lowlife, a parasite, and fathers and mothers and children deserve better than little freaks hanging about with fake names, fake profiles, when all they want to do is make sure children have the right to see both safe, loving parents. My ex-partner's entire family are Catholics. They visit Israel every year. And they're more Talmudic Jews, or they're not Christians, Catholics that abuse. Talmudic Jews abusing their holy book. Muslims abusing their holy book, children. That's why I don't trust any of the religions. Now, the Catholic religion owns all of these religions and owns all of these governments. It's got spiritual and temporal control over all of it. Spiritual and temporal control. And I'm a Catholic, and the Catholic Church is very famous for something, but it's not doing the right thing with children. And right now I've identified that Jana Pawła II and Gorzów Wielkopolski, John Paul II and Gorzów Wielkopolski, is assisting in the abuse of my two children. And I have on here men or women with fake profiles attacking the memory of my children that I've not seen for years. I understand if you're a father, this is the most difficult thing. If you're a mother, and that small 10% that face this kind of trauma and terrorism by the state, and it is the state, this is a state-sponsored terrorism via religion and via these fake police. You get decent guys in the street, but the rest are inside rooms doing this type of thing to break down fathers, to stop any help getting to children, to stop fathers getting into their children's lives and allowing paedophiles, perverts and all types of religion to continually abuse our children. Now I know this starts from childhood. I know the crypto Jew, the Freemason or the Catholic, they're just sellout child abusers, and that's who we have protecting the system on here, the sellout child abusers. They're always looking to make this, like what I'm doing just now, is in behalf of unified pain. They call it parental alienation, we call it psychological manipulation, child abuse. We know that that's it. The psychological manipulation of children was mastered when we started to question these Nazis. I mean, Hermann Hesse flew to the UK before the war, and he was captured in Scotland, held at the Tower of London, and he came to see, I think it was the Hamiltons, Scotland's gentry, Scotland's abusers. But none of that history means anything for fathers and children today. It seems to be just a continuation of the abuse by willing child abusers. So they get these religious gangs, Freemasonic gangs, Catholic gangs, and they promote and they give the money men, they make the money men the abusers. This is an impossible system to escape when we have the sophisticated technologies like this phone. But I can't answer most of your replies. I can't see most of the things that you write down here. I can't reply to them. But we have the security services who can write anything they like, delete anything they like, make any false profile, and they always get to comment and they always make it about them. As long as children are being forgotten in the eyes of this little McEwen person, this Alistair McEwen, as long as children are being abused and forgotten, he's happy. He's there to attack fathers, attack mothers. In the real life, he couldn't actually attack any father or mother because he's a coward. He's a coward with a fake name, fake profile, and he's a type of man, more than likely a woman, that would attack a child. And you can tell he would attack a child because he attacks a father wearing a mask behind a screen with a false moniker, false face, dodgy name, everything about these scumbags that attack children and fathers. They're predators and they're cowards. And I believe most of the Alistair McEwans know they're predators and cowards. Now these little gangs I'm talking about, our families are awash with them. Our families are drenched in them. Drenched with the abuser's sweat. That's why children in our families don't get help. I know it's like, you can have like a good Freemasonic family man. I get that. He can be a Catholic and he can be a good Freemasonic family. He can be a Protestant and a good Freemasonic family man. He can be a Catholic and change to being a crypto Jew and have all kinds of things if his family's part of that. And I can tell you my old family's part of that. We used to look after a nice Jewish lady called Thompson. My granny looked after her for 40, 50 years, done her washing, tidied her home, all of this kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean that you need to adopt their malevolent religion which abuses children and breaks down the rights of fathers, parents, and anything that's decent. You don't need to join scumbags because they're giving you money. You don't need to join the parasites because they'll use your children and break you down. And then they'll sponsor little Alistair McEwan parasites to come on here, faceless little cowardly monkeys to attack you. And he's only interested in himself and being right, and the thing is he can't ever be right because he's a little faceless cowardly monkey. And I'm looking for decent mothers and fathers that protect children to get in contact. If I'm wrong about Ghislaine Maxwell, fair enough. See if there's anything that I have lied about. You're best not to believe anyone that lies. If any lies come out of here, it's going to be accidental. If you sit and listen to liars, you're best not to listen to the lies if you can identify them. But if I'm telling you a whole lot of truth about the abuse of children, the funding of Police Scotland actively abusing and abducting your children, if I'm telling you about the Scottish Government who are part of a paedophile network, and every MP and MSP in that, they need to come out and start talking openly about what it is they're doing and why they're being paid. Why do they have ads? Why do they have ads like as if they're famous people? Why? Hello? There's more exciting things about here than listening to me or me talking. Hiya, gorgeous. There's more important things than things that make me happy, like clapping a nice wee dog that gives me time, you know? Someone being nice to me or kind to me and saying hello. Like these things, they stop me. I don't plan doing any of these and I don't want to do any tomorrow, but more than likely I will. Because no one's reaching out to help, and I'm telling you and I'm showing you that children are being abused, and we're backing up little paedophile protectors like this Alistair McEwan. I can see he's wrote something there, but I can't see the screen. I can't see my screen. I don't know what's on the screen. I don't know how many are there. But I don't really care how many are here. I don't care how many are listening, but I do care about the message that fathers need to get. During the night last night, I prayed lots. I prayed lots. That's why I put the thing about praying. I prayed out loud and I prayed in my house and I prayed when no one was there, no one was listening. And it breaks me to pieces to do it. It breaks me to pieces. And that's why I know I'll never do something silly, which the Alistair McEwan types, they want you to hurt yourself, they want you to hurt your children, they want families broken. Because they were broken as a child, abused as a child, and became the broken abusers. We can't call them an adult. We can't call Stoner any of these idiots adults. I mean, there's people that will... He'll make maybe 5 profiles, working for the police, and he'll start using them and liking his own stuff. He'll write things about Ghislaine Maxwell, and then he'll like his own stuff. You see how sick it is? I mean, we get sick little abusive boys, and more than likely it wasn't his fault he was abused. Maybe his mother sold him out. Maybe his father was part of that religious network of abusers who have in their holy books like raping and abusing kids at 1-year-old, 3-year-old, 9-year-old. I mean, this is what they have. They think that's fine. That may have happened to Alistair McEwen, and he may have became that little piece of scum that we know that we do not like. So that's why we need to give Alistair McEwen a chance as well. And every day I feel as if he's getting more opportunity than anyone on here. And he's making Unified Pain a charity for fathers and parents to attempt to find a way back so we have the right to a loving family, which is a maximum law. That's a maximum law. You have a right to your family life. You've got a right. So I don't come out and just stand here and talk about this because I have no right to see my kids. Obviously we do. But being attacked, living through every other hour when there's no purpose. There's no purpose to anything. Unless my purpose is to be attacked by paedophiles, by those protecting child abusers, unless my purpose is to take away the abuse that they would normally give to children by me coming here and letting them attack on me. I don't want you to wake up and not have your kids and not know where they are. I don't want you to wake up in the morning having nothing to do, no purpose in life, and you're thinking those dark thoughts while being attacked by what's supposed to be a man. What's supposed to be a man, and you know it's a coward. You know it's the security services, the very lowest end of it. And all you really want to do is be able to see your children and be part of their life, and everyone walks past and ignores that. The fact that you're a father, the fact that your children were abducted and abused, the fact that it was funded by the government, and no one's going to help you because you're a man. Maybe because you're an annoying man. Maybe because you're a pain in the ring. Maybe people just don't like you because you're you. And I know that. But I do expect you to see that I'm a father and maybe have some compassion and not want to abuse kids. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe you'll see past the fact that I'm annoying. Maybe you'll see past the fact that I'm loud and you don't like me much. Maybe you'll see past these things at one point and give me a chance and give my children a chance. I don't care what religion you're part of. I don't care if you've joined any of these groups. It doesn't automatically make you a predator or a bad person. Now, I've also seen the likes of Alistair McEwen saying, you have to agree with this guy or else you're a predator. For 99% of what I'm saying, that's true. You don't have to like me, you don't have to have anything about me. You don't, like, if you think I'm lying or if I make a mistake about some details regarding paedophiles like Ghislaine Maxwell or paedophiles like, well, I mean, paedophile protectors like Alistair McEwen, I'm not 100% sure what this wee thing is, but I know I would never trust him with any child, especially not yours. Now, he doesn't have a child and he was possibly abused as a child, and that's where I feel terrible, and I stop going on at him. Even though he's in those comments making this about him, it's not about abused children, it's not about the abduction carried out by Police Scotland, it's not about using the system and having the evidence there and it's been totally ignored. It's about just attacking and him getting some kind of recognition. So there's your recognition. It's about time you stopped. I know decent McEwens, and believe me, you cannot be one. You cannot be a McEwen. You cannot be. You cannot be one. I've always been this kind of annoying character. But I know if you're an annoying pain in the ring, you still deserve to have a family life and see your children. It doesn't matter how much you hate me. It doesn't matter if you're part of this nonsense. It doesn't even matter if you've abused in the past. You can repent and say sorry. You can ask forgiveness. It doesn't need to continue like this. Supposed to get down to -2 tonight. There must be other fathers out there. There must be other mothers out there that can see past the propaganda in every one of our towns and streets. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. What we sell most of is children. The World Economic Forum, they want to sell air to you, the air you breathe. I've heard this myself. I've heard it so often by these paedophile protectors that I'm a waste of oxygen. I'm a waste of oxygen. Now, I don't fully understand what that means, being a waste of oxygen. Because there's plenty of it. But we take everything and we put a dollar sign on it and we sell it off to the highest bidder. That's why paedophiles and child abusers always has settlements above. They're funded, there's settlements above. The paedophile gets settlements above and it's sentences below. You and I, the ones that they've stolen the money and the children from, it's sentences below. Settlements above for the paedophile, sentences below for the innocent father. And Police Scotland show that type of hypocrite in fancy dress every time we see them, no matter how smart they are. No matter how smart they are, because they will take the feminist, the funded Freemason, they will take the funded child abuser and they'll attack you and they will never face anything. And I'm talking about the feminist, Freemason, whatever, one of these child abusers, because that's what they are. They're part of the Catholic cult and are child abusers. So what do you do when you've got a broken town? The people round about you are happier only when they're attacking. Because I think the vast majority of Freemasons and Catholics and feminists in this town, they know they've abused children. Most of them their own. Most of them they've abused their own. Then don't get me wrong, once that child has been abused or once they've abused, they earn money. They get from the councils, they get from the police. The system always has a settlement procedure for the abuser. I've never known any different. Paedophiles are released early, protected more so than kids, and given jobs in society. This is what's happening today, but it's happening in abundance. It's happening in every one of your stores. You cannot talk about paedophiles because you'll hurt their feelings because they're working in your shops, making your food and looking after your children. Paedophiles are doing that. And the government are the people making sure that happens. Because within the government, it's predators. And they fund little child abusers. Like Stonor McGregor, Alistair McEwen, and 1,000 other profiles before that. Because I know fathers and men and children, they only have question about making life a little bit better. If it's a motherly woman and not a feminist child abuser, they've only got interest in making things a little bit better because we have inalienable rights, and that is the right to a family life, and I don't have that, and no one is sticking up for us, and it's a maxim in law, and the police don't care, but they'll quite easy come and they'll take the word of a feminist or child abuser and attack you. Settlements above, sentences below. I asked my own family and friends, if you're part of this network and you're on the take, you need to consider your future and you really need to consider your present. As I said, Alistair McEwen has no present, so therefore he has no future. Like my ex-partner who is abusing kids, she has no present, But the thing is, with the system being set up to protect child abusing feminists, to protect those who join these cult-like religions that abuse kids, and I do mean the Catholic religion. It isn't in their holy book, because I don't think they have one. They don't use the Bible. They've got some other version of it. For the Talmudic Jews, what's in there about raping and touching and abusing kids, and it's fine. It's not assault or rape, it's just what you do. And Muslims, like Aisha, how old? You want to kind of change the details of that? Every one of these religions are used to abuse kids. Every one of them are used to abuse. Now we put every one of them, the Freemasons is a religion in itself, but it can combine all of these religions together. And then it can use principles of the Tao. The Tao. The Tao was a precursor to Zen and Buddhism and these type of movements. And that's why we know that it's demonic in nature. Now I've studied the Tao. I've studied Zen Buddhism. I've written about this type of thing. But it's not really about learning. There is no theology to learn. It is the opposite of these abusive religions. It's spiritual, but not what you think. And every one of these religions are about holding on. Every single one, they're grasped on. Oh, I'm a Talmudic Jew, I'm a rabbinical Talmudic Jew, I'm a rabbi, or I'm a Muslim and I'm holding on to my religion. I'm a Catholic and I hold on to this religion because it gives me peace by holding on. I'm sorry, but religion is nothing about grasping on and desperacy. It's not about clutching on. It's not about holding on. This is where I've seen the Tao, Zen Buddhism. And believe me, these Freemasons think they understand the Tao because they've some wee Hiram Abiff story in the Ring of Fire. But he did know the mystical sign of the Tao. And he managed to gather all the builders together and show off to his little feminist, Queen Sheba. And they've always got these terrible little stories behind these things. Because Freemasons are quite simple people. Like, the religious people are very simple people. But the thing is, because they grasp onto these books and they get told what to do, they get told off the rabbi, they get told off the priest, they get told off the monsignor, they get told how to act, what to do, and you know what? They start to believe these predators in fancy dress, they start to believe these predators wearing collars. Within Zen Buddhism, within the Tao, it's all about letting go. It's about letting go of everything. It's about letting go firstly of that ego, you know, the ego, the thing, I want this, I want that. But I know there's good men within Freemasonry because they believe that they have let go of that ego. They can see things with a bigger picture. And I'm looking for you guys to see things with a bigger picture, that maxims in law, like the right to a family life, is something Police Scotland must be hammering in to our community so we don't have children without their safe loving parent. We can't keep doing this. We can't break the maxims in law. We've known this since the beginning of time. And any one of these religious creeps, they need a book. Now I know I'm a Christian. I know that. I don't need to go to any one of the buildings that's owned by the Catholic Church for me to understand that I'm a Christian. See, Christ never raped kids. He didn't abuse children. But he was tested. Like everyone in the Bible was tested. Normally for 40 days or 40 years. Now I don't want this testing to be 40 years, but it's already been way longer than 40 days. And I know if you give up on day 39 or 40, you'll be gutted for day 41. Things work in your way. Things work for your children. The police work for you. The system works for you. And that's what's going to happen here if we get together. We're going to get rid of the Alistair McEwens, the Stoner McGregor. We're going to get rid of these little paedophile protectors who only try to make it about them. Anyone with a bit of common sense will understand this is nothing to do with me. What I'm talking about is nothing to do with me, but my children and my right to family life are everything to do with me. Your children and your family life is everything to do with you, and that's been stolen from me by a funded charity. The Scottish Government gave them money. They funded this charity. Now, I mean, this shop, they fund this charity. Every single shop that has paedophiles employed, they will do little events and fund this charity. And that's a crazy thing. We don't even have a father's charity. There is not one safe place for a child to go unless it's straight into the predator's hands. And I'm talking predators like Jimmy Savile, because that is who is always running these charities. And that is a word we've bastardised, charity. Charity is supposed to be the nicest, the most beautiful offering. Instead, charity, what's charity these days? Charity is something that they sell you stuff. Charity is something that's going to cost you money. Charity is something, you know, it's the very opposite. And that is what I'm saying that this system does. Everything's in reverse. Everything is backwards. You know you've got a right to a family life, and no matter how much you hate me, you might hate the sound of my voice, or you might just hate me in general. You have that right, but you must stand beside me in support of my children and family life. It's a maximum law. You don't deserve to lose that. Your children don't deserve to lose out on you. You don't deserve to lose out on a family life for any of this stuff. But that's what's going on. That's what's continually happening. We don't get the right to family life because what? Because we fund a charity that abuses kids. We allow Police Scotland to assist in child abduction. We have this in court documented evidence, and the average man and woman here turns their head away. The average man, woman, father, they turn their head away, even though we've got court documented evidence, and Alistair McCune is there to say otherwise. Because he can definitely show a lie about Ghislaine Maxwell. So the little paedophile protector behind this fake moniker, fake name and fake everything else, a little coward, he will never stop. There's going to be 1,000 of him liking 1,000 of his comments because that's all he wants. He's a silly wee boy. He's got no idea what family is, and he deserves better. I don't think he's ever been introduced to what love is or what decency is. I don't even think he'll have a clue what a man is, because he's probably been brought up just by his mother. And that's what we're doing. We've got so many fatherless homes. And do you know what? It's not because you're a rat as a man. It's not because you're a loser, but that's what you're going to face every day and hear every day. Even when they're wrong and unlawful, they will never ever repent. They'll never say sorry. And I don't even mean the feminists, I mean females. If they're not motherly, they'll never say sorry. Sorry, never. Not ever. I do know mothers like this. I know mothers that go out their way to apologise. I do know them. I might not have any in this town or know them locally, but I do know mothers that will go out their way to apologise when they've been an absolute bitch. But if you say that, it's like, oh, you can get arrested for saying that. You've hurt a feminist's feelings. But they can't get arrested for abusing, abducting, and because they're funded. They can't ever face anything they do because they're funded to do it. They're funded to abuse. Who funds them? Paedophiles. Who funds them? The government. A paedophile network. Who funds them? You do. By paying your stupid taxes, by paying all this crap that you need to give to the government. You don't pay terrorists. You don't pay terrorists. Your council tax goes straight to those terrorists. And it's up to you if you decide that you want to give money to people that do not care whether we have the basics in law taking place. We don't have the police even funded to care if the basics in law is something you have in your daily life. They don't care. They only want for them, and whether that is a feminist wanting what she just wants now. The abuser wants, he wants to own your child. And they do it through religion more so than anything else. They do it through religion, or what they call spirituality. I'm just asking if you want to be part of any of this stuff, just have a personal relationship with God, or whatever you call God, or whatever you call Christ, or whatever you call the Creator, or whatever you call, you know, the The King of Kings. Or else we can just ignore all of this because I'm talking nonsense and some wee guy says I lied about Ghislaine Maxwell. You know what, I don't really know if she's in prison or not, but I know that when she was when she was found to be a wrong'un, a predator like you, she was allowed out. And I know that me as a father, whenever I face a false allegation, I get taken straight into prison. Straight away. Straight away. No innocent until proven guilty, because I'm a man, because it's settlements above, the paedophile, the feminist, the predator, settlements above, sentences below. Innocent father never committed a crime, sentences below. Innocent father never committed a crime, they'll have Alistair McEwen, let's pay this wee tramp £10 a week, because that's all he deserves, to attack fathers. And you have some little vermin that do that, and that's it. That is it. That's what you see down there. Little vermin abusing kids, little vermin abusing fathers, little vermin doing as they're told, but always doing it behind masks. Always doing it behind a screen. Never putting their face up, never going live, never coming on, never being anything that's honest. That's why we know that the paedophile has his clutches on these little boys. I feel sorry for you. There's nothing I can do if you're not going to repent and say sorry. I've given you the ways I've done it. I'm not saying it works for me because nothing seems to be working, even though it's court documented that lies were given, the funding was given, that Police Scotland assisted in the abuse. It doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't seem to matter because I've told you so many times over so many years, and all you need is a little financed rat boy to say, oh, he's lying. I would urge anyone out there not to listen to liars. I would urge you not to listen to lies or take in lies. Sometimes the information may not be 100%, but at no point is it ever going to be lies. If your job is to discredit a father who was missing his children and his children were abducted and abused by his ex-partner and the funding was given by the Scottish Government, then you're a rat. You're a rat. If you're my family or friends and any of this has landed, you need to come and help today. You need to come and help me now. You need to help now. I know they're happy to send the police, they're happy to send people round to try and frighten me. The police know I'm not frightened. The police know I'm not scared. Any one of you know I'm not frightened. Even if you're the biggest, hardest man in this town, I don't have any fear from you. I have fear.
God bless you, son. Keep up the good fight, 'cause I'm fighting something myself. We're all in it together, okay? It's us against them individually. You take care of yourself and trust your sovereign soul. God bless, son.
Thank you so much. That was a mother talking. That was a mother stopping. That was a mother taking her time, and no one has ever... That mother has not happened. Mothers haven't done that. That was one doing that there. Why? It's not about the words I'm saying. Children can feel this emotion. Fathers can feel this emotion. If you're a parent, you can feel this. I miss my kids. It's been years. They've been abused. It's been funded. I've told you who, how, and why. And no one, even my family, is helping. So all you're doing is pushing fathers and men to suicide. And that is why I talk about the suicide rate of men and fathers being the highest it's possibly ever been. And no one is bothering their backsides. All we have is people like Alistair McEwen trying to get fathers to kill themselves. He's a little lowlife. Every one of the... I mean, look at the people that like his comments. Look at what he's done. You can follow that. I can follow a lot more because this is mine. But to be honest, I don't bother about YouTube. I couldn't care less. Thank you so much. There's another... They're actually coming out. The women are starting to stand up and sending love. Mothers are here. But they're taught to be quiet. Feminists are always shouting loud. Feminists always shout loud. Heart is starting to pump a bit more because that's two women, two mothers that have given me the shout. And my own has to shout, and my own aunties have to shout out. And you, if you're my cousins with mothers, you need to be shouting out to help. I don't care if you're part of the Freemasons. I don't care if you're an Eastern Star. You can have your own opinion. It doesn't have to be these forced into your head by these false religions and child abusers. You don't have to follow what they say is right. Here's my pal back. There's my pal back. You saying hello? Who's that? My boy. Big boy. You get up? I'm alright, mate. Still talking on this mad thing. It's a father that always gives a bit of support. There are men going about, but most men put their head down, don't want to listen. Or maybe I just annoy them. I annoy me at times, so I get it. I get it when you don't like me. But I don't get it when you're hearing and understanding the story and understanding what's happened and you attack. Because it's not, I'm not looking for anything from you. Children deserve your help. Family deserves your help. Fathers who are taking their lives, 8 out of 10 fathers who are taking their lives from deaths of despair need your help. But 8 out of 10, it's fathers. The deaths of despair is basically just fathers taking their own life. See, deaths of despair, it's basically just fathers killing themselves because you treat me like this, you treat him like that, and you treat their children like that, and you keep them separated. That's what deaths of despair are. And that's okay. That's okay for you. For whoever many's watch, I think there's 7 people. You're having good conversation. Love this big boy. I only ever had terrapins in my life, so I look like a terrapin. I don't look like my animal. I don't have a big animal. This is who's running things. Please listen carefully to this.
It's not about personality traits or willpower or any of this psychological garbage. This is about system architecture. When I say asshole, I'm not talking about someone who's just rude or difficult. I'm talking about the dark triad. Those who manipulate without hesitation, exploit without guilt, take without giving back. Those who see other people as resources to extract value from. You know exactly who I mean because you've met them. They probably run your company, or maybe it's your ex. The asshole wins because they're perfectly optimized for the game we're all forced to play. They don't have the internal blocks that hold everyone else back. No shame shutting them down mid-manipulation. No guilt making them reconsider. No empathy creating friction in their decision-making process.
The predator is financed. They couldn't care less if a child is bleeding to death. They couldn't care less if you miss out. They couldn't care less if they were the one abusing a kid and people knew. They wouldn't care. They just don't care because they're funded to do it and they never ever face accountability. Like the feminists, they never face accountability for the crimes they commit. This is what's going to be changing. Now what I did notice was, thank you very much mate, the vaccine details that I gave, the study, the cohort study from the vaccines, it was the least watched, the least listened to. And I know every one of you have got an opinion on vaccines, but all I want is to see my children. All I want is for my family to come out today and say, do you know what, we need to go to Poland, we need to sort things out. I just need family and friends to play that role as family or friend. I really just, I need your help. My children, Matthew and Ava, need your help today.
Impact of childhood vaccination on short and long-term chronic health outcomes in children, a birth cohort study. I've never seen this study before.
18,468 subjects.
Henry Ford, like other institutions, has a bias towards the goodness of vaccines. If the results came back demonstrating that the battery of vaccines was associated with chronic diseases, such a result would be particularly convincing. This could be essentially one of the most valuable studies in the field.
The vaccinated subjects were over 4 times more likely to have an asthma diagnosis.
600% more acute and chronic ear infections.
4.47 times the amount of speech disorders in the vaccinated compared to the unvaccinated.
5.5 times risk.
616% increase. Learning issues, developmental delays, speech delays, language delays.
Amongst the unvaccinated group, there were 0.
There was 0 brain dysfunction, 0 diabetes, 0 behavioral problems, 0 learning disabilities, 0 intellectual disabilities, 0 tics, and 0 other psychological disabilities. None.
It's a big difference.
It's very important this study sees the light of day.
This is devastating.
This paper should have been rushed to publication on an emergency basis.
We are systematically making kids sick, and not just a little bit sick, very sick.
This may be the most important study that has ever been done, and it needs to be published.
He knows if he puts his name on this, his career is over.
I mean, obviously, really emotional.
Zervo's probably going to lose his job over this.
They are more worried about losing their jobs, about losing the financing, and the evidence is there to support unvaccinated children, unvaccinated bodies are so much healthier, to the extent we have female doctors crying about the fact that they have vaccinated so many children. And they know the difficulties, these vaccines, these ticking time bombs, they know that these ticking time bombs are what causes most illnesses in children. Especially when you see the unvaccinated group not actually having any issues in so many areas. We don't tend to question authority because authority is what gives us money. That's why when we have paedophiles and predators and they're the money men, we're in a right bad state. We're in a really bad way. They're funding feminists. The paedophiles fund feminists. Mothers don't have time to be feminists. Mothers are so busy being mothers. And little violent women are getting together and pretending to be mothers. There's some mothers that sell their children out, sell them into these religions, sell them into the Eastern Star way of thinking, which is be controlled and do as I say. And really what I want all children to have access to both safe loving parents. That's it. And people hate me for that. That's it. That's what I want. And it's common.
A situation, an event of domestic violence on the part of my dad my whole life was actually contrived by my mom and her lawyer. That's right. My mom's lawyer advised her to get a bogus restraining order to set up a situation where my dad would be enraged, make claims of abuse to get a domestic violence charge so that she could get more money and custody. But this is bigger than my story. This is bigger than my mom, my dad. This is the playbook, part of the playbook that people talk about when they talk about how the stories are so similar. I'm glad that I'm able to put the pieces of my own life together, finally, so that I can know the truth. I deserve to know the truth of what I lived through. I deserve to know the truth so I can know who my dad is, who my mom is, and then make my own decisions about whether I think it's healthy for me to have relationships with them. That's what every child deserves.
It's quite sad to see some of the comments and what the people are putting here, what families are just going to miss out, children are going to miss out. The subject matter is very difficult to take in, especially when every one of these towns in the UK is dripping in this crypto Jew, Catholic, abusive religion type movement. It's every one of these fake religious people And what Catholic, Muslims and the Jews getting together, ganging up and abusing kids, hiding behind collars, religious stories and our basic human rights aren't being met. There is no right to a family life. Yeah, it's a maxim, but you're not having it. Yeah, you've got the right, but no one's going to stand up for you. No one's going to stand up for any child when a woman's screaming that she wants to be listened to. Mothers aren't screaming. Feminists are. If you've liked any of this stupid story, if you're part of the abuse network, you need to seek forgiveness. If you've been abused, you need to say sorry and not do what's happened to you. You don't need to be like that predator. You don't need to be like that abusive wee man or woman. You don't need to be like that. Yeah, people aren't going to support you in your local town because they support and fund the abuser. The abuser is actually funding the decent man. The abuser is funding the decent man. The paedophile has the money. Of course I'm angry at this nonsense. Our services aren't working, our government's broken, it's a paedophile network. We're only funding the downfall of family and vermin males and females. Doesn't matter what they want to call themselves, they're vermin. And children are missing out because these vermin, they want to be at the front page. They want to be the ones heard, while children, they're not even given any time. The only time they get is when they're being abused by these freaks. Ah, goodness me.
They've been taught.
One parent gets to be a parent, and the other gets to be, at best, a visitor, and at worst, completely erased. And a lot of it has to do with our judicial system.
What I remember about being in court was having to lie to the judge.
It destroys lives, it bankrupts people every day, it tears children from their homes, and just so happens to be a $50 billion a year industry.
If you don't pay your child support, you're going to go to jail.
Walter Scott decided to bolt from his car. Court documents show he owed more than $18,000 in child support payments.
These are not deadbeat, broke. Nothing I said mattered. None of the evidence I brought forward mattered. The judge wouldn't even look at it.
He's nothing like I was told he was.
If there's 22 million adults dealing with this, that's over 22 million children. And the mental health consequences are severe.
Have a lovely day. It's 10 of you on here. Sorry I've not read any of the comments. I can't really see them. Sun's in my eyes. Again, you never get too bogged down with comments. You can speak to one another. But it's just a hate parade. It's a hate parade and children have got no hope. Now I know there's maybe 10 people on here. One of you can hit the like, some of you can hit the subscribe. Go on, hit the like and subscribe. I mean, there must be one, must be two, there must be some of you out there. Children deserve better, your kids deserve better. And these parasites deserve a kicking. They need to go and say sorry. They need to say sorry. Or else what I said first about getting that kicking, that's got to happen. Your children have got no hope. Your children have got no hope while we have a system in place that's willing to abduct. While we've got religion in place which are willing to rape and abuse them. Religion willing to rape and abuse kids. Religion. Deities don't abuse kids. But it seems like in the Catholic, Judaism, Muslim, all these other things, kids are put at the back of the queue and are used for what they can offer. The psychopathic child abuser. I might just keep going for the next couple of hours because I've got nothing to do. nothing to do. Because I'm a waster, obviously. All you like cool guys that are allowed to work, who's are decent human beings and decent parents. I've been told I'm not that. I'm a waste of space.
Suicides are male. The vast majority of all deaths of despair are male. Another piece that really fits with what we're talking about today is a man is 4 times more likely than a woman to suicide. A divorced dad is 8 times more likely to suicide than a divorced mom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We have so many families that are fatherless. So many of the men here have grown up without their fathers in their life. They've grown up without them. And it seems to be if they've had their fathers in their life, their fathers have been willing predators. I need to get to see my kids. My kids need to know that I'm here and safe. I want to apologise for like doing your head in and talking about the same stuff all the time, but I don't want to. I'm caught in both ways, you know. I feel like a failure. I do feel like a failure every second of every day. I'm a failure, and the people on here are working hard to drum that into me. And as time passes, it sinks in. It sinks in. You become nothing. You feel as if you're nothing. You're nothing to your family. You're nothing to what was your friends. You're nothing to what was your community. And it's not just a case of they're willing to ignore you. They're the ones firing you down, because we fund the abusers. We're funding the abuse. We fund the abuse in every town. That's why in every single town there's more fatherless kids than there are kids with fathers. In every single bloody town, because we have women who sell your children off, not mothers. And if you think you're a mother and you're not in contact with your children and you're not looking after your children and you talk bad about the father, you're not a mother. And if you're one of these 90% of these abusive father types, 10% of you take your kids away from the mother and call her mentally ill. It seems to be the way mothers get it. Men are everything. Men are rapists, abusers, thieves, liars, everything, you name it. They always go down the mental route for women, so I know women face it, and it's so difficult for you to come back from these allegations, from false allegations, and they do it all the time. 2 mothers today made that known, made that clear, that they would stick by a father, and they would come up and ruffle my jacket and push me to say, listen, I'm standing here with you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Matthew, Ava, Daddy tried every single day. Daddy tried every day. That's a lie. That's a lie. I don't do this every day, but I try, you know. I'm sorry if I've made mistakes about any of your paedophiles that are getting away with raping kids. I'm sorry if I've made any mistakes or mentioned any of these scumbags. And sometimes these scumbags are who you look up to. That's your deities, you know. All I'm looking for is for fathers to have the right to see their children, and by the maxim of law, you've got a right to their family life. We're breaking all maxims, and we're breaking our human rights. I mean, every single community is breaking the rights of fathers and children. Every single community is funding the downfall of children, and women smile at it. They walk past and maybe it's because they don't want to come up and say I support you, but women laugh and smile at these things. Shut up, Joe. Matthew, Ava, Daddy, sorry it's this. This is your daddy. I want to be with you. We do have the right, basic rights to be together. But I know these religions are holding you back, keeping you down and breaking your mind. The biggest Nazis were broken down psychologically. The biggest Nazis, and we're doing it to children. The biggest murderers were broken down psychologically. Normally they were taken in by the occult practices of Anyway, shut up, Joe. Take care. Nonsense. It's nonsense.